Rink wide Vancouver. Pre-game, post-game, every game presented by Bodog. From sports odds to free casino games, make a play at bodog.net. Wadden and JPat here with you once again with another edition of the pregame show as the Canucks are back home after that road trip and, one of the toughest teams in the Western Conference on the schedule.
Yeah, the Canucks and the Vegas Golden Knights both playing well. Canucks are 7-1 in their last 8 hockey games. The Knights are 8-2. They're atop the Pacific Division. They've got some company there with the Los Angeles Kings after their win over Calgary last night. But the Canucks have played Vegas tough this year. They beat them down at T-Mobile back in November and then had a big third-period lead, let it get away back when that was a thing for the Vancouver Canucks. So they split their 2 games. This is the season series tonight, but this is going to be a challenge because Vegas has its sights set on not just top spot in the division, but top spot in the Western Conference, so every point matters to the Vegas Golden Knights.
Let's get to the lineup change. It's presented by Delaney's OK Tire out there on Fraser Highway in Langley. Looks like Thatcher Demko is going to get back in goal.
Yeah, and we'll see if he can pick up where he left off in Los Angeles on Saturday. Got to watch from the bench, a rare night off in Anaheim on Sunday. So arrested Thatcher Demko, 38 saves, 2 more in the shootout against the Kings in that 3-2 victory on Saturday. There was a penalty shot save in there as well. He seems dialed in, and the Canucks will probably need that from him if they're going to prevent this Vegas team from racking up the offense the way that they can and the way that they did in their last game, a 7-2 victory over Columbus. Also at the morning skate this morning, was a full team day off after a busy weekend. So day off yesterday, back at the morning skate. And how about that? Philip Aronik out with the boys first time. He's not going to play tonight, but this is an indication that he's getting a whole lot closer. He'd been skating on his own out at 8 rinks for the last couple of days. So Philip Aronik certainly looks like he's on the radar at least to make his Canuck debut at some point here in the near future. It's going to be the same 12 forwards that the Canucks have been using of late. And that means that Sheldon Dries stays in the lineup. Jack Studnicka is out. Vitaly Kravtsov is going to be on that line with Podkolzin and Dries. You've got your top-end guys that have been scoring a bunch of late. One change on the back end, Kyle Burroughs appears that he's going to come out of the lineup. Guillaume Brisebois, who was a scratch on Sunday. Brisebois gets back in the lineup. And Noah Juulsen remains in the lineup. He's going to be paired with Quinn Hughes once again. So, that's quite a credit to Noah Juulsen. We've seen Tyler Myers come out of the lineup. We have seen Brisebois come out tonight. It looks like it's going to be Kyle Burroughs that watches. And through it all, Noah Juulsen remains an active member of the Vancouver Canucks.
A good road trip for the Canucks, an even better road trip, though, for the Canucks' best players.
Yeah, Elias Pettersson scored in all 3 games out on the road trip. Quinn Hughes and JT Miller were in on all 4 goals that they scored over the weekend in Southern California. So the top-end guys have been going. Kuzmenko scored in Arizona. Brock Besser scored in Los Angeles. Now we'll see if those support players, some of whom had been stepping up recently, but you'd like to see a little bit more from them. But they're support players for a reason. But there's no question the Canucks' top-end guys have been carrying this hockey club of late.
Maybe those support players can stand out to Rick Tocchet a little bit by doing this, getting more traffic in front of the goalie.
Yeah, the Canucks scored 2 goals in each of the 3 games on the road trip. They lost 3-2 in Arizona. They end up winning in a shootout 3-2, but they only scored 2 goals against the Kings, and then they got 2 against Anaheim on Sunday, and that was enough for a 2-1 victory. So, Rick Tocchet saw his team put up 40 shots on goal against the Ducks and scored just twice. Wants to see guys get to the front of the net. The old adage in hockey, take the eyes of the goaltender away. So when you're getting 40 shots on goal and you only score twice, certainly there are some things that you can do, and we'll see if the Canucks do some of those things against the Knights tonight.
Been close to a month, but Ethan Bear going to return to home ice tonight for the Canucks.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him. I'm sure the fans are as well, and I'm sure he's looking forward to returning to Rogers Arena, where he took that puck in the mouth against the Boston Bruins back on February 25th. Now, he got into the lineup on Saturday in Los Angeles. You may recall that first period went by like a flash. It took 25 minutes in real time, and he remarked about how quick the pace was for him. It probably slowed down a little bit on Sunday night in Anaheim, where the Canucks controlled most of the play. So he's got a couple of games under his belt. I'm sure he enjoyed a day off, though, yesterday. Get back home. He's got a newborn child, but now it's back to business and doing it in front of the home fans. So Ethan Bear playing his first home game in almost a month's time.
No playoffs for the Canucks. We know that. But of course, they got that win over LA, one of the best teams in the Western Conference. Another one tonight. Good test for them against Vegas.
Yeah, and they've had a number of these measuring stick games of late when you think about a good home ice win against the Toronto Maple Leafs. They beat the Dallas Stars not that long ago, but they were also held in check by Boston, the best team in the National Hockey League, and Minnesota playing a whole lot better of late. And Minnesota came in with a 2-1 victory and sort of ground the Canucks down that night. So a bit of a mixed bag in terms of their success. But as Rick Tocchet continues this evaluation process of the team that he's inherited here, only 13 games to go, so he's running out of opportunities. This will be a good test. But as we said earlier, they've played Vegas tough this season.
Let's look at the Vegas Golden Knights now, who thumped Columbus recently and got a hat trick from their top guy.
Yeah, the hats were flying at T-Mobile on Sunday. Jack Eichel with the 3-goal performance to lead the way. 7-2, Vegas pulls away from Columbus. You've got one of the top teams in the NHL and the bottom feeder, so not a surprise result there. The surprise was the previous game when Vegas lost 7-2 to the Calgary Flames, so that was a bounce-back game. The Golden Knights now out in Western Canada, a quick 3-game road trip starting here in Vancouver, and they're going to want to hit the ground running on the road. They've been a good road team all season. They're just a good team. They've got 92 points, 43 victories. So, again, they pose a challenge to most opponents they faced, but certainly Columbus was no match for Vegas on Sunday afternoon.
A bit concerning for VGK, though, outside of the fact that they are one of the top teams in the Western Conference, they get pushed around by a lot of teams.
Well, they're being pushed certainly for top spot in the Western Conference. It's incredible. There are 6 teams here, 3 weeks to go, and there are 6 teams I think that can lay claim to a legitimate case that they're going to be the best team in the West and get that first seed when all is said and done. They're tied with Los Angeles. They're 3 ahead of Dallas, and they're 4 points up on Colorado, Minnesota, and the Edmonton Oilers. So it really is a 6-team horse race to the finish, a sprint to the finish, if you will, and that's why every point matters. So I think you're going to see the best that the Vegas Golden Knights can throw at the Vancouver Canucks tonight.
And of course, one of their strengths is the blue line. They got a couple of guys that perhaps would have represented on Team Canada.
You know, it's funny, when you look at this Vegas team, like statistically, they don't blow you away in any team statistics. They're 15th in goals for, 10th in goals against. Their power play is 14th. Their penalty kill is 17th. So they're sort of middle of the road in that regard. You know, Jack Eichel leads this team in points. He's tied with Chandler Stevenson, 54 points. The Canucks have 4 guys with more points than anybody on this Vegas team. And yet, here are the Vegas Golden Knights pushing for the conference lead, and really the backbone is that defense. When you look at the names, Alex Pietrangelo, Shea Theodore, Alec Martinez has been there and won Stanley Cups with the Los Angeles Kings, Braden McNabb, Nicholas Hague, and Zach Whitecloud is just, you know, he's a nice fit as a third pair right side guy. So that's what a championship caliber blue line looks like. Not a lot of weaknesses there. And we mentioned Alec Martinez, like one of the veterans there. This guy leads the National Hockey League in block shots, and not by an insignificant amount, 38 more block shots than anybody else in the National Hockey League. So not afraid to throw himself in front of pucks that are sent his team's way.
A lot of depth, a lot of structure, very good coaching with VGK as well.
And that's been the history of this team. Of course, Gerard Gallant got them to a Stanley Cup in their first year, didn't win it, and patience runs thin in Sin City. So Gallant was out. They called the cab for him. In comes Peter DeBoer, who's been to a couple of Stanley Cup finals elsewhere, but he couldn't get the Vegas Golden Knights to a Stanley Cup final, so they moved off Peter DeBoer. And then you bring in Bruce Cassidy. And wouldn't that be a storyline if it was Cassidy who would have some good intel and insider knowledge on the Boston Bruins organization if he leads Vegas against Boston in this year's Stanley Cup final. But yes, the common thread is that they have had 3 excellent coaches, and the bar was set high in that inaugural season where they got to the final but ultimately fell short against the Washington Capitals. They've got designs on getting back and getting it right this time around, although we know that there are a bunch of teams in the East that also have that same goal. So it's not going to be easy, obviously, but Bruce Cassidy is one of the top coaches in the National Hockey League, and I think Vegas was pretty happy to land him. So there'll be a Bruce behind a bench at Rogers Arena. Bruce, there it is, but it's not Bruce Boudreau. It'll be Bruce Cassidy tonight.
Let's get to the stat that stands out. It's presented by Jason Hominick at jason.mortgage.
If I had told you at the start of the season that the Vegas Golden Knights would have leaned on 5 different goaltenders to deliver a victory, you would have thought this season had come off the rails, and yet that is in fact the case. And you think of the goaltending drama with Marc-Andre Fleury and Robin Lehner not that long ago, and neither of them with the organization, or at least Lehner, hasn't played a game this season. And so, yeah, Logan Thompson was a nice story early on, was I think in the running for Rookie of the Year, but he's been hurt for a while, and that's hurt his chances. Aiden Hill, a guy that's bounced around a little bit. They went out and they make the trade and they bring in Jonathan Quick, who's 4-1 since being acquired by Vegas. They've had some others as well. And up until last night, they were tied with Ottawa for the most goaltenders to deliver a victory for a single team this season with 5. And then Dylan Ferguson went out and authored a nice story for the Senators, who've now had 6 guys get wins for them. But you don't think of a Stanley Cup contender needing 5 different goaltenders. So absolutely, that is a stat that stands out for me. It's a presentation of Jason Hominick at Jason Dodd Mortgage.
Let's take a look at my Bodog Best Bet. I didn't make my last one, so I'm kind of reaching on this one a little bit. Hear me out here. I've got Elias Pettersson and Jack Eichel, both over half an assist in the game at plus 400. 4-1 on your money. It's a bit of a risk here, though. Not on the Pettersson side. PD's got 6 assists in his last 6 games. Eichel, more of a goal scorer, kind of a balanced scorer, if you will, has 5 assists over his last 9. So I'm reaching a little bit, I think, on the Vegas side, JPat, but it is Vegas. I want to roll the dice at plus 400. Giddy up. I love that value.
Yeah, balance is a good word for Jack Eichel. 26 goals, 28 assists, 54 points. He's tied with Chandler Stevenson for the team lead, and Stevenson with 41 helpers. So he's been more of the setup guy. Eichel, the 3 goals the other day. But Jack Eichel can take over hockey games. He did on Sunday, and maybe he'll do it here tonight. This Vegas team on a roll, much as Los Angeles was on Saturday when the Canucks faced them and beat them. Vegas 14-3-2 since the All-Star break. So they've been one of the best teams in the National Hockey League for much of the season, but particularly since the stoppage at the All-Star game, they have been terrific with just 3 outright losses.
All right, I got Jack Eichel and Elias Pettersson that I need to do something in this game. Who do you think is going to do something in this one?
Yeah, there's a bit of a thread and a common theme to all of this, because I think I've used him against Boston and again against Toronto. When the stakes are high and the opponents are good, I look to Elias Pettersson. Now, he does something almost every night out. But as I mentioned earlier, he scored on all 3 games in the road trip. So he's been doing things all season, up to 88 points for the Canucks. But I want to see him do it again against a solid opponent, a team with legitimate designs on winning the Stanley Cup. So Petey comes into this game. He's on an 8-game point streak. He's been going good. He's playing some of his best hockey, back-to-back games with power play goals. Let's see if he can do it in front of the home fans tonight. So, yeah, Elias Pettersson, that's who I'm looking at to do something for the Vancouver Canucks.
All right, let's see if the Canucks can keep the wins coming. Try to start off a win streak at home here against one of the best teams in the Western Conference. This has been another edition of the Rink Vancouver podcast presented by Bodog. For Jeff Patterson, I'm Andrew Wadden. Remember, Rink Wide is the show that always scores.